Alright guys, this is another video, another project that I recently picked up and finished. It's a Toro timemaster 30 the dual blades, and I think it had a Briggs Stratton motor on it. I picked it up cheap, it wasn't free, but it had a blown motor, and took the motor off, disassembled it, and it had a busted valve, and that scored the inside of the cylinder. I mean, did some research and it was going to be about $100 or something in parts for a new piston, new rings, honing the cylinder, and maybe going an upsize on the piston and the rings. And at the end of the day, it still was going to be a Briggs & Stratton, even if it was done. And I'm a huge Honda fan. I don't know if you've seen my other videos, but did some research into these Honda GCV190 motors, and it turned out that they're pretty compatible with these lawnmowers. So I started searching, and the GCV160 is a very common motor that you can find on a lot of Toros and Troy build lawnmowers, but the GCV190 is tough to come by because only the Honda HRX 217 I think uses it. So it's got the longer output crankshaft, and as I said, those lawnmowers are tough to come by. But this GCV190 motor is also used for some of the power washers, such as ryobi's 3100 psi and a couple other ones. But the only issue is that the output crankshaft only protrudes out, I would say, maybe 2 or 2.5 inches out of the motor. So but those motors are very easy to find. These motors are very easy to find. I paid $60 for this motor, and the only part that required a lot of adjustment and tweaking was somehow, some way, putting the pulley onto the 2.5 inch long output shaft. I made a spacer. I drilled and tapped the crankshaft. It wasn't drilled, it wasn't tapped, so I drilled and tapped it, put a longer bolt through it, used a spacer. And also I had to make a sleeve because the output shaft in this motor from factory is only 7/8 of an inch thick, whereas the pulley coming off of the actual motor was an inch thick. And I'm sure all that could have been sorted if I was to just replace the crankshaft with the one that's made for this motor by Honda for the lawnmowers. And it's another $60 expense, but it was going to take $60, a whole bunch of time and effort to open the motor up, do all the swap, and put it all back together. And this was sort of a time crunch of a project, so I quickly finished it up, and it turned out fine. As you all know, that Honda basically restricts the fuel in these motors from factory to be carb compliant in California and such. And my expertise in snowblowers, especially Honda snowblowers, reminded me that I could upjet these motors to a bigger jet from, say, like a GX, the GX200 motor that's found on the Honda HS724 and HSS724 motors. Honda makes the upjets, you can buy them. They don't recommend using them. They don't recommend, they're kind of like the same situation as it is with the off-road only usage for some of the aftermarket parts that you can find on cars and car manufacturers. They only produce stuff that you can use for off-road use only. The GX200 upjet, I believe it's an 83, jet number 83. This is the part number. I mean, I had these sitting with me for the GX200 motors. It's a 99101ZH80820, and it was a direct swap, direct bolt on into this carburetor. It didn't really require much, all but to have to take the carb off, take the bolt out, swap out the jet. And the machine is it's a beast. The factory on and off switch that works for this motor, but also the way I wired it, and nothing is I mean, it seems like everything is factory OEM, because it did take a lot of effort to make sure that all the wiring was proper. The factory switch also works, shut the machine off. The mounting holes are the same. That was my biggest worry, going into this project, to make sure that the machine actually would accept this motor, but luckily the mounting holes are they'll spot on. And this machine, the way it's set up, the governor kicks in perfect, starts right up. As you can see, it's on right now. I was using it earlier. Let's fire it up. With the bigger jet, the machine is just a beast. It does not bog down at all. I mean, this is a 186cc motor, whereas the one that came off of it is 196, but it's a Briggs Stratton. Completely different animal. I mean, this Honda is like a bulletproof motor. With the added fuel now, it just, I mean, you throw 4, 5, 6 inches of long, tall grass onto it, towards this machine, and it'll just gobble it right up. All in all, this was a perfect setup. I mean, I wish, I know Toro sells some of their lawnmowers that come with Honda motors. I wish they sold this TimeMaster with a Honda motor, because that'd be a huge hit, at least in my opinion. I don't know how others would feel about it, but this is for my personal use. I mean, it's not a machine that I'm flipping or anything. This is a project of love, because it did take a little bit of effort to take care of the crankshaft issue. But other than that, I mean, I'm pretty stoked about this machine and using it. It's twin blades, and it's got a 30-inch cut, so it's perfect setup for somebody who doesn't really have like acres and acres of property, but has significant amounts still, where like a 21-inch walk behind might be a bit too small. But let me know what you guys think about it. I mean, any questions, comments are welcome. Have a good one. Thank you.